Shalom. First and foremost, before I get started with my lesson, as always, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations and blessings to the Akim that do this work in truth and sincerity. All right. And I want to talk about basically current events, things that are going on in the news. All right, pertaining to, the war, all right, World War III, all right, and, basically, all right, as you know, in the headlining news, all right, America, all right, or should I say Trump, has basically, targeted and striked Iran, all right, and basically killed one of their leaders. And, this is going to lead, all right, basically to, an all-out war, all right, all-out war. And this is the beginning, all right, of this war, all right. In war, things are very strategic, all right, and precise, okay. It's like playing chess, things don't just, usually happen overnight, but it very well can, and through the spirit and hastening in the day, you would hope that it would, but there's, prophecies, all right, that have to come to pass and certain things that have to happen. But speaking a little bit about, the things that has happened, all right, so far, okay, like I said, all right, America, Trump, all right, issued the strike on Iran, all right, and Iran basically, all right, retaliated, all right, and shot its own missiles at many, U.S. bases, all right, within their range, and, did what they did. I believe it was an article sometime this week, one of them that I sent to the brother. It was basically going into, all right, how they have sleeper cells because, Trump has been talking about this for a while. And in the article, it was basically talking about the tension between the two and how Iran and these other places as well have sleeper cells, all right, throughout America. So this would be a fine time, all right, for them, all right, basically to retaliate, man. All right, like when you see those videos in those third world countries where it's overpopulated and it just seems like it's normal. All right, just like the, I think it was the Manhattan bombing or something like that. It was one of those runs where, everybody was gathered together and then a bomb or whatever it is went off in the middle of a crowd. Well, yeah, those type of things and those events, all right, are going to be a norm around here, as well as, seeing missiles coming from the sky and dropping, from drones and different things when all hell breaks loose, man. So these are, the events to come, man, all right? And many of these third world countries, man, they go through these things all the time, man, all right? And these American people, they're really, they're pacified, man, all right? They've never seen anything like this before. They've never went through anything like this before. So when it really hits home and it hits this place, all right, it's going to be really bad. All right, so let me get this real quick. This is Jeremiah chapter 28 and 8. And it says, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old, both prophesied, I'm going to read that again, Shalakia. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence. Okay, so war and evil and pestilence, all right, is coming, all right, to Babylon the Great, man. All right, these things are gonna, all right, gonna overtake this place, man. All right, the land of confusion, all right, the land of mirth, all right, is going to turn into a desolate place. Okay, and the prophets and the starting with our elders and the apostles and the ones before them, have been speaking of these things, all right, to come, that are going to happen, all right, and they're set to happen, all right. So again, it says, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied against many countries, okay, because we prophesying against this place and telling people the reason why these things are happening, all right, is because the wickedness of America, all right. Look at the E-files, all right. Look at the look at the satanic worship. Look at the sacrificing. Look at all the wickedness that's going on in this place. All right, we're prophesying. All right, we're building up a case against this place. All right, it says both against many countries and against great kingdoms. All right, this place is considered America the Great. All right, the home of the free and the brave. All right, it's supposed to be, the place to be in the world, but that's quickly turning around, man. All right. And it says of war and of evil and of pestilence, man. All right. And we hear of the wars, man. All right. The rumors of war. All right. And these things are happening, man. These are the talks that are going out. These are the talks that are happening amongst people, man. All right. World War III, people being drafted. Okay. Evil times. All right. Pestilence. Okay. Disease. All right. Spreads of funguses and all kind of other things, man. So I was talking to my coworker yesterday. All right. She was talking about, my daughter, she has C19 and she has something else. And, thankfully I don't have it. Thankfully I don't have it. I just have strep throat. I'm like, I have to kind of back away, man. But these are the things that's going to come upon the earth in the last days. All right, let me get this real quick. This is Matthew 24:6, and it says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. All right, so we're hearing rumors of wars now. All right, we're hearing that these people are gearing up, all right, to possibly, all right, have sleeper cells do work on the people, man. All right. Let me see something real quick. Let me actually get to that article. I'm going to read a little bit of it. All right. Just to get a little bit of context. All right. And it's from the New York Times. All right. And it says, Iran could direct proxies to attack U.S. targets abroad, officials warn. All right. And it says security officials are monitoring increased worrisome signs as President Trump considers another military campaign against Iran. All right. And he already went out and basically did his thing. All right. It says U.S. and other Western security officials say that they are monitoring, all right, increased worrisome signs that Iran could direct proxies, all right, or sleeper cells to conduct, all right, T attacks against American targets in Europe and Middle East if President Trump orders large-scale strikes against Iran, all right, and that just happened, all right, so these things are gonna happen, man, all right, it's gonna happen, all right, and like the brothers say, man, once it hit the news, all right, we're pretty much already in deep S, all right, we already pretty much in deep shit, all right, at that point, all right, so it says threats abroad. It says threats abroad. There's concern amongst intelligence and counterterrorism officials that Tehran could enlist attacks on Western ships in the Red Sea. There's also concerns in Europe. All right, the Hezbollah sleeper cells, or even Al Qaeda or its affiliates, could order to attack American bases or embassies. All right. It says one senior U.S. official said that government analysts were tracking a lot of activity and planning, but that is unclear what could trigger an attack. So we know what can trigger an attack now because they have a reasonable doubt to. All right, they have a reasonable reason, all right, to now, all right, do whatever it is that they want to do to this place, all right? So let's get back to the scriptures. Just want to read a little bit of it just to, all right, further drive the point that they're here, man. All right. And the Lord's doing it, man. The Lord's basically putting the spirit, all right, on these nations to do these things, man. The scriptures say that the heart of the king, all right, is in the hand of the Lord, man. The heart going into their mind, their lob, all right, is in the heart, that their hearts is in the hand of the Lord, man. The Lord swayeth however he want him to. All right, so that's the way the Lord has this thing planned out, man. Let's get this real quick, man. All right, this is Exodus chapter 15, verse 3. All right, because people say, oh, man, why the Lord would do that, man? The Lord ain't going to do that. He's a man of love. He's a man of, holding hands and coming together. Nah, that's not the spirit of the Lord, man. All right, although that's one of his qualities. All right, but that's not the case in this case, man. All right, there's a time and season for everything, and we're in the time of war. All right, this is Exodus chapter 15, verse 3, and it says, the Lord is a man of war. All right, Yahweh is his name. All right, and there you have it, man. The Lord is a man of war, so he's the one who's, all right, basically getting these people riled up, man, by the way of these angels, man. All right, that's why you see an increased sightings of angels, man, because they're getting busy throughout the earth, man. All right, coming to and fro from this dimension to the spiritual realm. All right, filling out orders, filling out tasks, the taskmasters of the Lord. All right, working on the minds of these kings, working on the minds of these people. All right, that's why you see a whole bunch of people bugging out. That's why you see a whole bunch of judgment in the earth. That's why you see a whole bunch of people, all right, turning out, because the Lord is using the angels to do so. All right, let's get this real quick. This is Isaiah 54 and 16. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. All right. And the modern day smith, okay, because when you look in ancient times, if you ever played old games, all right, like Assassin's Creed or, I don't know, I can't think of any other ones to think of right now. But I know one for sure is Assassin's Creed, where you go to the smith and they create your swords or your daggers or whatever the case may be. So the modern day smith, okay, are your scientists, all right, that create these different bombs and different things, okay, to create destruction. All right, so that's the modern day smith, your scientist. All right, it says again, behold, I have created the smith, the scientist, that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I've created the waster to destroy. And those are the ICBM missiles, all right, the intercontinental ballistic missiles. All right, that's what's going to destroy this place, man. All right, by way of fire. All right, let me get this real quick. This is Psalms 7 and 13, and it says, He hath also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordained his arrows against the persecutors, man. All right, and who is the one that persecutes us, man? Gives Jake's football numbers. All right, be throwing Jake underneath the pin and throwing away the key. All right, Esau Edom. All right, the accuser of our brother, man. He's the one who creates all of this mayhem and mischief and then points the finger at Jake and says, look what he's doing. All right, Esau Edom. So the Lord is coming to destroy this place, man. All right, let's get this real quick. All right. This is Psalms 21 and 9. And it says, Thou shalt make them as a fiery oven in the time of thine anger. The Lord shall swallow them up in his wrath, and the fire shall devour them, man. All right. And what's gonna that explosion, that fire, all right, brothers going into that camp, all right, about the different zones, okay. I think brother was speaking about, I think within because they live by a military base, so he was explaining, all right, the blast radius, you know, anything within, I think 10 to 12 miles of wherever the bomb drops, everything is pretty much evaporated, man. All right, disintegrated. All right, that's why the scriptures speak about the elements shall melt with fervent heat. All right, and it's talking about these missiles, man. When they get dropped off, man, all right, and explode, all right, they disintegrate, they obliterate everything in its path. All right, and even far beyond the first, second, and third zone, everything outside of that is wiped out as well. All right, because then you have the shock wave of the blast. All right, you have the explosion, everything that's destroyed within a 10-mile or whatever radius. Then you have outside of that, you have the actual shock wave, the wind. I think 100, 200, however fast it is, mile winds coming to destroy. And then outside of that, you have what? The fallout, man. All right, which is the radiation that kills people, man. So imagine 200 million missiles, 200 million warheads, all right, falling on this place, as the scriptures say. It's going to be devastating, man. Nothing left. All right. So let's get this again, all right. Let's see here. This is Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 14. It says, Pull yourselves in array against Babylon, round about, all ye that bend the bow. Shew at her, spare no arrows, for she have sinned against the Lord, man. So the sins have basically reached, all right, to the heavens. That's why you see all of these things that are being revealed in the earth about the leaders and the entertainers and about what they're into and about what they worship and about their rituals and about so forth and so on, about all the wicked things that they do, man. These are all the things that they've been doing since they've gotten rulership, since the beginning of time. This is the things that they've been into, man. All right. They are the wicked. All right. They've been into these things. They've been doing these things. They've been sacrificing and eating children and doing all kind of vile things to our people. All right. To the nation of Israel. All right. Ever since slavery. All right. The only reason why it's really catching major attention now is because it's happening to your kids. All right. It wasn't a problem when it was happening to the Israelites, but now that it's happening to y'all kids, now it's a problem. Ain't that funny? But I digress. Let's see. Let's continue. All right. This is Jeremiah chapter 51 and 1. It says, Thus said the Lord, Behold, I will rise up against Babylon, aka America, and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me, a destroying wind, and will send unto Babylon fanners. The fanners are the angels, but it's also, all right, can represent, all right, the other nations, all right, that shall fan her and shall empty her land. For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about, against him that bendeth, let them arch. Shalakia, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth, let himself up in his burgandine, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her host. Again, verse 2, it says, and will send unto Babylon fanners, all right, the angels, all right, and the other nations, all right, because it's twofold. It says that shall fan her and shall empty her land, all right? So that's the judgment, all right, by way of these missiles, all right, destroying this place, all right? That's part of the judgment. For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about, all right? So the ones that are allies with America, they are eventually going to be, all right, against her, all right, which is Babylon, the great whore, all right? It says, against him that bendeth, it says, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifted himself up in his burgandine. It's going into his military defense system. All right. And spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her host. All right. So that's his military. All right. So basically, America, all right, is going to try to go up against the Lord, ultimately. All right, that's why he got his Space Force, SpaceX, whatever you want to call it. All right, because he knows that the Lord is coming back, man. All right, and they're going to try to fight with the Lord in the sky, man, and they're going to get obliterated. All right, they're going to get obliterated. Ain't going to be no competition. It's going to be just a flawless victory, man. All right. So let's get this real quick. All right. This is Jeremiah 51:1. It says, thus saith the Lord, behold, I will rise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me, a destroying wind, and will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land. For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about, and against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifted himself up in his burgandine, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her host. So America is going to be destroyed, utterly destroyed. And I know I just brought that out, but let me get this other one. All right. Let's see. Bear with me. This is Revelations chapter 18:1. And it says, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lighted with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the whole of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunken of her wine, of the wrath of her fornication. All right, because you see all these nations, they liken themselves into, all right, America. all right, their philosophies, their ways, all right. Many of these other, they wear suits and ties, and all right, you get the gist of it. That's the wine of this place, man. They've basically slept with the whore, man. Right, they into many of the same things. It says, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. All right. It says, and the merch of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. All right, because America does a lot of business, all right, with these other nations. All right, and doing with business with these other nations, they also liken themselves unto them by worshiping their gods and doing other things, man, as well. All right, let's jump down to verse 8. And it says, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord Yahweh who judgeth her. And the kings of earth who have committed fornication and have lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is her judgment come. And that's not far-fetched to believe that the nations are going to say that. Look at all the things that are going on in the earth and that's being exposed about America and what they participate in, man. So it's not far-fetched for the judgment, for the other nations to look at the judgment that's gonna befall America and then say like, look, this is, this is what it deserves. This is what this place deserves, man. Judgment from the Heavenly Father, and they're gonna know it, man. All right. So again, man, these are rumors of wars. All right, and these are the things that the Bible speaks about that's gonna happen, man. All right, World War III. All right, so, Lord willing, this video was edifying. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations and blessings to the Akim that do this work in truth and sincerity. Until the next time, Lord willing, I say Shalom.